Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. So, you're an immigrant in the US. Maybe you just got here or you've been around a while, but you're freaking out about Social Security benefits, right? Like, oh man, I haven't worked long enough in the US. How am I ever going to qualify for retirement money? Yeah, that fear's legit, especially if you came to the States later in life, like in your 40s or 50s. 10 years of work sounds impossible, doesn't it? But hold up, don't panic yet. Today, I'm going to walk you through some super practical ways to get past this worry. You don't have to grind out 10 full years in the US to get those benefits. There's hope, and I've got the tricks for you. These solutions are 100% based on how the US Social Security system actually works. No made-up stuff here. By the end, you'll feel a lot better, I promise. Let's dive in. First off, quick question. Did you ever work outside the US before coming here? I mean, any job where you paid taxes legit, like in Vietnam, Korea, Canada, wherever. If you did, congrats. You might have just hit the jackpot without even knowing it. The US has these things called Totalization Agreements. Fancy term, I know, with over 30 countries around the world. It's like a bridge that lets you add up the time you worked abroad with the time you've worked in the US to qualify for benefits. Sounds complicated, but it's really not. The Social Security system says you need 40 credits. That's 10 years of work in the US to get retirement money. But with these agreements, you can use years from another country to fill in the gaps, so you don't have to do all 10 years here. I'm going to break down exactly how this works, step by step, so stick with me. You don't want to miss any of this. All right, first way, and the easiest if you're lucky, is tapping into these totalization agreements. Let me paint a picture for you. Say you're Hong, coming from South Korea. Before moving to the US, you worked in Seoul for 6 years, paid your taxes and all that. Then you come here, work 4 more years, maybe at a nail salon or a restaurant, paying taxes through the IRS like a good citizen. Normally, for years in the US wouldn't cut it, right? But since the US and South Korea have this agreement, those 6 years from Korea get added in. Boom! Hung's got 10 years total, 40 credits, and just like that, he's eligible for Social Security retirement benefits without slaving away another 6 years here. How cool is that? Right now, the U.S. has deals with over 30 countries: Canada, South Korea, Japan, Germany, Italy, France, Spain, and a bunch more. If you're from one of those places, this is your golden ticket. But wait, I can't hear you already. What if my country isn't on that list? Chill, I've got other options coming up for you. But let's finish this one first. If your country does have an agreement, step 1 is to check if it's in the lineup. Super easy. Just go to SSA.gov/international. SSA stands for Social Security Administration, the folks who run this whole benefits thing. On that site, there's a section called International Agreements. Scroll down to the list of countries, look for yours, Canada, Korea, Japan, whatever, and see if it's there. It's free. Takes like 2 minutes tops. I had a friend from Germany who did this, found out Germany's on the list, and she was over the moon. She'd only worked 3 years in the US, but it's 7 years in Berlin before that. Add it up, she's good to go, no more stress. Step 2. Once you've confirmed your country's in, you gotta gather some paperwork to prove your work history abroad. This part's big, because the SSA isn't going to just take your word for it. They're not psychics. You'll need stuff like old job contracts, tax receipts, pay stubs, anything showing you worked and paid taxes in that country. For example, if you worked in Japan, dig up pay stubs from your old company or tax doc from the Japanese tax office. Lost your papers? Don't freak out. You can hit up your country's embassy or labor department to get copies. I get it, this sounds like a hassle, but think about it. A few pieces of paper could save you years of work in the US. Totally worth it, right? Once you got your docs ready, step 3 is reaching out to the SSA to get your benefits verified. You've got 2 options here. 1, call their hotline at 1-800-772-1213. It's free, open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. US time. When you call, just say you want to check your benefits under a totalization agreement. Then give them your details, like your SSN, that's your Social Security number, and the paperwork you've got. Option 2, If you're not a phone person, find a local SSA office near you on SSA.gov and go in person. They'll look over your stuff, and if it all checks out, you'll get those 40 credits locked in for benefits. Fair warning, though, this isn't instant. It might take a few months to process, so you gotta be patient. But once it's done, you're set. No extra 10 years of work needed. So that's the first way, using those agreements. But I know not everyone's from a country with a deal, like Vietnam, for instance, doesn't have one yet. What then? Don't sweat it. Here's way number 2. Crank up your contributions fast right here in the US. What do I mean? You don't actually have to work 10 full years to hit 40 credits. It's about earning enough money each year to rack up credits. In 2025, you need about $1,730 to earn 1 credit, and you can get up to 4 credits a year. Do the math. If you make $6,920 in a year, you got 4 credits, and in just 2.5 years, you'd have 10 credits. But if you're pulling in more, like with a decent job in a restaurant, construction, or tech, you could hit that mark even faster. Let me tell you about my buddy Juan from Mexico. Mexico's got an agreement with the US, but Juan couldn't use it because he did odd jobs back home. No taxes paid. When he got here, he worked as a server at a restaurant, making around $30,000 a year with tips. At that rate, he blew past the $6,920 mark every year. So in a little over 2 years, he had his 40 credits locked in. The key? He worked legit jobs, filed taxes properly with the IRS. If you do cash under the table gigs and don't report it, sorry, but the SSA won't count it. So the trick here is to find a steady gig, make decent money, and file those taxes. Pull that off, and you could be done in 3 or 4 years. Number 10-year grind required. Way number 3, and this one's for the married folks, or those thinking about tying the knot. You can piggyback off your spouse's work history with something called spousal benefits. Here's how it works. If you're married to someone who's already got their 40 credits, like a U.S. citizen or another immigrant who's worked enough, you can get benefits based on their record. It's usually about 50% of what they get, and you don't have to have 10 years yourself. Take Maria from Spain. She'd only worked 2 years here, nowhere near enough. But her husband's an American who worked 15 years, so when he hit retirement age, she applied for spousal benefits and started getting almost $1,000 a month. No extra work needed. Sweet deal, huh? Now, there's a catch. You've got to be legally married, and usually you wait till your spouse hits retirement age, 62 or older. If you're single, this won't fly. But if you're hitched to someone who's got the credits, it's an easy way around that work history fear. Just grab your marriage certificate, both your SSNs, and apply through the SSA. Piece of cake. Way number 4, this one's a bit of sleeper hit, but super helpful, is jumping into community immigrant support programs. The U.S. has tons of nonprofit groups that help immigrants figure out their benefits, like Catholic Charities, Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service, or local community centers. These places often have free advisors who will sit with you, look at your situation, and show you how to max out your Social Security options. I met this older guy from Italy once. He had no clue about Totalization Agreements. He went to a center in New York. They dug up his old Italian work papers, walked him through the application, and bam, 6 months later, he's getting benefits. All free, no charge. To find these spots, just Google immigrant support services near wherever you live or ask around in your community. They don't just help with Social Security. They can hook you up with job leads, tax advice, even English classes. I know some immigrants skip this because they think it's too complicated or costs money, but nope. Most of it's free. You just got to show up and ask. Last way, and this one's more of a long game but worth mentioning, is pushing for policy change. Sounds big, I know, but hear me out. If your country doesn't have an agreement with the U.S. like Vietnam, the only way to get a shot is to team up with your community and nudge the government. Right now, that 10-year work requirement is pretty stiff, especially for immigrants who show up later in life, 50s or 60s. How are you supposed to work 10 more years? If enough people speak up, join advocacy groups, write to your local congressperson, sign petitions. Maybe one day the U.S. will lower that bar or sign a deal with your country. For example, The Korean community in the U.S. pushed hard back in the 2000s to get their agreement with South Korea. Now, tens of thousands of Korean immigrants benefit from it. If you're Vietnamese, Indian, or from anywhere without a deal, try joining groups on Facebook, like Vietnamese in America, and rally folks to make noise together. One person's tough, but 1,000 voices? The government's got to listen eventually. This won't happen overnight, so do it alongside the other ways I mentioned. Okay, let's wrap this up so you're not lost. 5 main ways to beat that fear of not qualifying. 1. Use totalization agreements if your country's on the list. Check SSA.gov/international. Grab your papers. Contact SSA. 2. Hustle up credits fast in the U.S. with legit, well-paying jobs. 3. Lean on your spouse's benefits if you're married to someone who's set. 4. Hit up immigrant support groups for free help. 5. Push for policy shift down the road. Each one's got its vibe. Pick what fits your situation best. I know some of you are watching this like, man, this sounds great, but is it really that easy? Look, I get it. Paperwork and processes sound exhausting. But think about what's on the line. If you pull this off, you're looking at steady retirement cash without worrying about your golden years. Average person gets like $1,500 a month from Social Security. That's $18,000 a year, no extra work. For immigrants, especially if you don't have a big savings pile, that's a lifeline. So don't let the fear stop you. Give it a shot. You've got nothing to lose. Before I bounce, do me a quick favor. If this video helped you out, smash that like button, hit subscribe. I need the motivation to keep cranking out stuff like this. And drop a comment below. Where are you from? What's stressing you out about benefits? I'll try to reply with some tips. If your country's not on the agreement list, I'll brainstorm other ideas for you. Oh, and if you know someone who needs this info, share the video with them. Let's help as many people as we can. Thanks for sticking with me. I know it's a long one, but I wanted to make sure you've got everything you need to take action. Don't let that short work history fear mess with you anymore. You've got options. Good luck out there, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.